Hello and welcome. Today I'd like to talk to you about salt. Okay, so salt and processed foods. We're getting way too much salt in processed foods. Do you understand why and how? Okay, so the reason why, first of all, that there's lots of salt in processed foods is obvious. It's a flavor enhancer. So you need to understand that businesses are in business to make themselves wealthy, not to make you healthy. So believe it or not, companies spend millions on just getting the right amount of salt into their product. They test pallets and they test them and they test them until they have worked out the exact formula of salt that needs to be into their product so that it becomes addictive. Yes, because the more they sell to you, the more money they make, right? So believe it or not, the first reason, that's obvious, is that it's because it's a flavor enhancer, but you may not have known that companies actually spend millions on getting that formula right. So now you've got too much salt into your system, all right? The other reason why they use a lot of salt, the added advantage of that is that salt is actually a preservative. So for years, centuries and centuries, and hundreds of years ago, salt was actually a form of trade because it has an effect on the water level in anything that it's in, all right, whatever it's added to. So they call it the water activity. So what happens is you put salt into something, it absorbs all the water, reducing the amount of water in whatever it is. And by doing so, there's less place for bacteria to breed. And so then it becomes a preservative. So it was actually a form of trade. It was very, very valuable. Okay, unfortunately now it's just too readily available. So now we've got salt in our food because it's addictive, salt in our food because it's a preservative, and we eat it. And we eat it and we eat it and we eat it because it's addictive, whatever it is. Now, you need to look and see where the salts are. They are in everything, even scones, okay? So you need to be, that'll be another subject, but that's why you need to identify whatever it is that you are eating. If you can't identify what you're eating, I can guarantee you it's high in salt and high in sugar and out to make them wealthy, not you healthy. Okay, so what happens next? You actually eat it. Now there's this chemical, physical reaction within you, okay? The body is designed to have a certain amount of sodium salt level in it. And now you've put way too much in, okay? Now you have strained the entire system of this perfect ecosystem. You've now put it under immense strain. The first thing is that the kidney's job is you drink water, it flushes through the system, flushes through the kidneys and removes toxins, goes into the bladder and out through your urine, all right? Now what you've done is you've put salt in, way too much, and the levels in your blood are now under pressure, and the kidneys are now trying to bring more water into the system to help cope with the saturation of salt, so they are not flushing and ridding of the excess toxins. And water, it's being retained, which one, puts the kidneys under strain, and two, causes kidney disease, all right? Now the liquid stays in the blood, and the blood is now, the arteries are under strain, okay? There's way too much liquid in them, and they're having to learn to cope with this. They have to make a plan, the body's making a plan, so the arteries, and so they're working, pumping, and they are a muscle, and that muscle gets stronger and stronger and stronger, and the size of the artery, the actual hole, reduces. So what happens? High blood pressure. Okay, now the heart is pumping, trying to deal with all this, so it's under pressure and strain, heart attacks, all right? And then there's less oxygen and liquid and blood going up to the brain, so that becomes reduced, and as I've discussed in other videos before, the brain cells start to die, and that equals dementia, Alzheimer, and depression. So I think it's become quite clear and quite obvious why we need to be perfectly aware, totally aware of what it is that we're putting in our mouths, because we are responsible. We are responsible, not the manufacturer, because he's in business to make money. But it's your responsibility for you and yourself. You have to take responsibility for what you put in your mouth. Don't say I didn't know, because you do know now, all right? It is your responsibility to not put that in your mouth, to be able to identify what you are eating, and to be using clean, clear water to flush those kidneys and keep everything pumping, the arteries clear, under no pressure, and the liquid going through into the bladder and out through the urine. Do you understand? That is why we have to be careful about eating processed foods, besides the fact that they are addictive, and they then do another video which is putting on weight. Okay, and it's a reason why we have an obesity crisis. So please have a look and be responsible this weekend about what you put in your mouth. Have a great weekend.